Right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee. I'm Janetta Soshan and I chair the committee. Before the meeting starts, I have some announcements to make. In the case of a fire, a bell will ring continuously. If this occurs, please leave the building immediately, following the green fire exit signs out to the assembly point, which is by the War Memorial on Duke Street. If anyone requires assistance, let me know. Lifts should not be used. Please remain at the assembly point and do not attempt to return to the building until you've been advised that it's safe to do so. Anyone attending this meeting is entitled to film it, but only councillors, officers, and anyone sitting around these tables may be filmed. Members of the public should not be filmed, so please ensure cameras are pointed only in this direction. The meeting is being recorded and broadcast live on YouTube. Please will you silence or switch off your mobile phones while the meeting is taking place. Thank you. To start with, can we hear any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. I've had apologies from Councillor Pooley.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We go straight on to declarations of interest. All members are reminded that they must disclose any interest they know they have in items of business on the meeting's agenda, and they must do so at this point or as soon as they become aware of the interests. And I will start the ball rolling there. I will declare I have a non-registrable interest in item 7 of tonight's meeting. So I will not chair the second part of the meeting. Councillor Ian Wright will take over the chair. I will take no part in the discussion or voting and will leave the chamber. No councillor that was absent from the item last time can vote, but we need more apologies or declarations of interest if that is appropriate. Who else? Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I'm in the same situation as yourself, so I'll be withdrawing from the second planning application.
Thank you. Councillor Ashley.
Same reason.
Councillor Shaw.
Exactly the same reason. I should be withdrawing as well.
Councillor Large.
And I will be withdrawing from that item as well.
And Councillor Sampson.
Same reason.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for either of the items? No? Okay, we'll move on. There are no members of the public, so I shall move straight on to say that where an application is returning to the committee that's been deferred for a site visit or for further information or to consider detailed reasons for a refusal, no further public questions or statements may be submitted. Moving on, I'll go straight on to item 6, land adjacent to Broadacres, Vicarage Road, Roxwell. Planning application 21/02049/FUL, which was at the planning meeting last time. I think I need to deal with the minutes before that point. Sorry, I missed them. Okay, are you happy that I sign the minutes as a true record? That's what I'm just doing. I did miss them. Right, is everyone happy that I sign these? Thank you. Thank you. We'll now move on to Broadacres. Now, we're only returning to consider the detailed reasons for refusal. So who would like to start? Councillor Poulter.
Chairman, it was my recommendation that it be refused last time. I move the recommendation that the reasons set out in paragraph 3 on page 4 of the report to members be agreed.
Thank you. Now that's opened the discussion, but we have a possible discussion to come along. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Following the last meeting where we looked to refuse this planning application, I went away and overlaid the two plans on top of each other because the reason for refusal is stated as the proposal would be significantly different to the application approved in 2019 in terms of the amount of hard standing to be created and the size of the access way to the sites. I overlaid those two plans and I basically placed spot the difference, and I don't feel that is a factually correct statement. I've got a slide that I've shared with planning that is now on the screen. So basically, what is on the screen there is the 2019 plan and the latest plan overlaid on top of each other. The red area is unique to the latest plan, the one that we're voting on tonight, and the purple area is unique to the 2019 plan. Now, I'm not going to say this is scientific, they're not measured, but if you look at the two colours, I struggle personally to see that one of them is significantly different than the other. Now, if anything, I might argue that the red is slightly larger, and that is the plan we're discussing, but is it significantly different? I do not believe so at all. So I cannot support this. I do not believe the reason for refusal is a factually correct statement. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been allowed from planning. Councillor Wright. Can you put your microphone on?
The proposal from Councillor Poulter, I would like to second that. And I think the reasons for refusal, as shown, adequately cover all the points.
Thank you. There is one reason for refusal. Am I clear?
Yes.
It is one reason clearly stated. Councillor Sampson.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the reason for refusal, this wording is around a comparison to 2019, but when I was looking at it, we're always told to review the application in front of us, not the 2019 one. And I think my original decision was based on development in the Greenbelt compared to what was there. The fact that something had been given planning permission that hadn't happened in the meantime wasn't my reason, but I appreciate it would be good to have some guidance on, yeah, we're always told not to look at prior applications, which I would consider 2019 to fit within that bracket.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, Councillor Large.
Thank you, Chair. So so the hard standing, which has been is the reason for refusal. So we have the numbers in the agenda. So the current proposal is 1,090 square metres of hard standing, and the 2019 application was 930. So there's a 17% increase then. And yeah, so for me, when you look at, so the 2019 application has got permission. So going forward from there, I'm struggling that there is sufficient difference between 2019 application and this application that we could refuse it on grounds of harmfulness to the Greenbelt, and then if it were, in the back of my head I always have whether if this went to appeal, do I think this would be a robust enough reason, and I'm not convinced that it would be. That's kind of where I'm sitting on that at the moment. But I'm happy to hear other people's opinions.
Councillor Shaw.
Thank you. I'm also struggling in a similar way to see the 17% increase as being sufficiently large difference to warrant given this as the reason for refusal. And like Councillor Large, I'm concerned that that may not stand up at appeal, but it is the only possible reason, and it depends how much emphasis you place on 17%, which I think is difficult.
Thank you. Carry on, Richard.
Thank you, Chair. The second paragraph talks about the extent of the differences of the development to preserve the openness of the greenbelt and inappropriate development at both the hard standing and the access way to the site. Those, and as the fellow councillor talked about, making reference to an old application is irrelevant when we're looking at a current application, in my view as well. So for me, I don't see the very special circumstances to provide planning permission. As I see it, this is an inappropriate development in the greenbelt.
The main point is whether we consider this a strong enough refusal to stand up at appeal. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to ask the officers what they would consider, and we're talking 17% increase, what would officers define as a significant difference?
It would be so easy, wouldn't it, if our policies gave us a percentage like they used to? They don't. It's a judgment, and we have to take it in the round, use our experience and judgment, and there will be those planning applications that are just acceptable, but you don't need to do that much to make them just unacceptable. Are we dealing with one here that's very much, you know, in that middle of the scales, and that 17% that we're talking about pushes it one way or another? I mean, that's what we're debating.
Thank you. Do you want to say anything at this point? No? Okay. Councillor Sampson.
Could the officers give any advice on how the 2019 application would be used at any potential review of this? Sorry, can you not hear? Because I don't think we're here to judge the merits of the 2019 one.
No.
And so if that was a bad decision, which clearly some of us think that, even though none of us were on that committee at that time, or few of us, it's putting another potentially bad decision because of that. It doesn't seem a good reason to approve this one. Do you know what I'm getting at? And how could that be used against us at review?
I think it is, as the officers say, it's subjective to a certain extent on all sides. It's a difficult one. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak? It has been proposed and seconded. But is there anyone else who wishes to purely have a view on this? No, I think we may have to go to a vote. Can you repeat your suggestion, please, Councillor Poulter?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the reason for refusal set out in paragraph 3.1 be the reason for refusal of this application.
Can I have the seconder again, please? Councillor Wright. Okay. All those in favour of refusing the application, please. Two, three, four. Yeah. All those against accepting. 3, 4. So this has been.
The question now is there now needs to be another motion,
Yeah.
either to amend the reason for refusal or something else.
Right.
Could I just...
So that has fallen. Therefore, we need another proposal to either amend the reasons for refusal, first of all. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I propose that we go back to the original officer's recommendation for approval of this scheme. Thank you.
I wish to check first if anyone wanted to amend the application as it stands. No? In that case, we will go back to the original application, that the land adjacent to Broadacres, Vicarage Road, Roxwell, be approved for the conditions originally arranged. All those in favour? Oh, sorry. We do need a seconder. Do I have one? Seconded. Right, Councillor Lee. In that case, all those in favour, apologies tonight. 6. All those against? 2, 3, 4. So in fact, that application to refuse it has been overturned and it has been accepted. Thank you very much, everyone. That is the end of that particular item. Okay. So we now pass over to Councillor Wright for the next application.
We've got enough. I checked before.
You're fine.
Councillor Hyland's staying, but
Yeah, we need 5.
All right, committee, we'll move on then with item 7, which is number 2 Westfield Avenue, Chelmsford. 2-storey side extension and single-storey rear extension with a chimney removal. Can we have the planning officer's report, please?
Thank you, Chair. The site is located in the centre of Chelmsford. It is a corner plot of Broomfield Road and Westfield Avenue. The site is indicated in red on the slide. The application site is adjacent to the John Cain Memorial Homes Conservation Area and 85 Broomfield Road, which is a Grade 2 listed building, identified in blue on the slide. The application property is a detached period house with a single-storey side projection, off-road parking and wraparound garden. The proposed extensions would replace the existing single-storey side projection. The proposed extension would be contemporary in form and appearance, which is acceptable. Timber-like black cladding would be used on all elevations of the side extension. The roof would be constructed from zinc, and the extension would be connected to the house by a glass link. The proposed development would retain an acceptable relationship with all neighbouring properties, including number 85 Broomfield Road, which is to the rear of the application site. Concerns were raised by a neighbouring resident that the rear boundary wall of the application site, which is
a cartilage-listed structure, would be harmed during the construction works. It is proposed to protect the brick wall with a protective fence during the construction phase. This is considered sufficient to protect the heritage asset. So in conclusion, the officers are content that this modern extension is acceptable in all respects. Thank you, Chair.
Well, no members of the public wish to speak, so I'll throw it open to the committee. Councillor Poulter.
Thank you, Chairman. We've all sent copies of representations that had been made by the adjoining owner and comments that had been made by the applicant with regard to the removal of trees and cutting down of shrubs. I'm not sure what effect this is going to have on the boundary between this property number 85, but paragraphs 1.6 and 6.7 of the report to members do touch upon this, and I want to know, please, whether in relation to those paragraphs and the removal of the trees affect in any way the comments that were made by the officers in those paragraphs.
Firstly, the trees in the garden are not protected in any shape or form, so they could have been taken out without any consent from the council in any event. We always look very carefully, as you know, between relationships. Windows, first floor windows, there are existing first floor windows in the application property that look towards the neighbour. That doesn't change. The scheme introduces another first floor window, no closer, so there is really no difference in relationship. Some of the trees are retained on the boundary, and I've no doubt once the occupiers have moved in and are settled, there may be some new decorative planting anyway in their garden, but we're content with the relationship. It's an acceptable one.
Any of the trees referred to in paragraph 1.6 talk about trees being on the border. Are they within the applicant's ownership, or are they in the ownership of number 85? And if they are in the applicant's ownership, is there any reason that would prevent the applicant cutting them down and making the visibility even greater between the two properties?
Councillor Poulter, my understanding is that there's vegetation on either side of the wall. There certainly are within the application garden. And again, none of them are protected. So it's down to individual homeowners to decide how they want to deal with their own trees.
The reason put forward for the trees is that it would provide obscurity or a barrier between the two properties, so there wouldn't be any overlooking. If the trees and bushes have gone, that no longer applies, and the minimum period is, sorry, the actual period is below the minimum period distance, I should say, of 20 metres. Do you have any, or 15 metres, do you have any comments on that?
So I'm advised that the new first floor window is 20 metres between the new first floor window and the side elevation of the neighbouring. It is on. I've got a red light. Sorry. 20 metres. So back to side relationship. That's what we're looking at here. There is an existing back to side relationship. That doesn't change, and the window proposed doesn't change that. And what we've got here is a back to side relationship over the neighbour's front drive, which is, you know, basically in the public domain. Okay, there may be front walls, but it's a more public frontage of the property than the private garden that we would be more conscious about safeguarding amenity. So there's no material difference between what's there at the moment and what the extension would create in our view.
I'm happy with that. Thank you, Chairman.
Any other member wish to speak? No?
Chairman, I move the recommendation for approval set out on page 7 for the reasons given and subject to the conditions set out in the report. Thank you.
We have a seconder. Thank you very much. Will you just vote, please, to show if you agree with the recommendation? Thank you very much. It's passed. Just to remind you about the appeals report, good night reading. And once again, it looks like we win nearly all our appeals.
Of course, yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for your attendance, and please have a safe journey home.